This is Truth Be Told.
That not only are there reptilians here,
new evidence of UFO fleets.
We were close to nuclear war.
To help you transform so that you can live your highest truth.
We're not being told just because we're not ready for it.
Radio stations of frequency, vibrational.
I was a homicide detective with LAPD.
UFOs increase. Visitations. The future of AI. Is it a threat to society? Or is it going to take us into a whole new level of technology for humanity? Well, welcome, dear listeners, to another episode of Truth Be Told. Today we have a captivating guest who will take us on a journey into the boundless realms of technology and artificial intelligence. We are joined by Matthew James Bailey, a renowned author, visionary, and thought leader in the world of AI and its implications for the future. With a career spanning decades, Bailey has written extensively about the incredibly advancements in artificial intelligence and explores the dazzling possibilities and ethics that come with it. As the future stands in front of us and becomes reality where AI is becoming increasingly integrated into our lives, Matthew is here to help us decipher enigmatic code of AI's future. Are we on the cusp of a technology utopia, or are we blindly stumbling into a dystopian nightmare? So fasten your seatbelts as we embark on the thrilling exploration of future of AI with none other than Matthew James Bailey. This promises to be an episode that will challenge your beliefs, expand your horizons, and leave you pondering the limitless possibilities and profound consequences of artificial intelligence. I'm your host, Tony Sweet, and please welcome to the Truth Be Told studios for the first time, the one and only Matthew James Bailey. Hey, hey, hey! How you doing? How you doing?
Tony, I love the introduction.
Andy, hey, I didn't tell you about those secret trips to Vegas, so that's good. I kept that to myself. Well, I'm excited to have you here. I was telling before we started, I can't believe I haven't had you on the show before, but I'm glad you're here now. I'm excited that coming up in just a week that you're going to be at Conscious Life Expo here in Los Angeles up at the Hilton. LAX Hilton, February 9th through the 12th, and people can get their tickets at consciouslifeexpo.com. So, but Matthew, I have to say, AI, when I started, truth be told, about 12, 13, 11, 13, 14 years ago, whatever it was, we had a gentleman on talking about AI and how it's coming quickly in the future, and it's now 2024, and it's among us, it's surrounding us, it's taking over a lot of our technology. I mean, chat GPS or whatever it's called, and so many different things that are offered for AI now. So can we go back 10 years and just kind of do a quick summary of where we've come in just a short amount of time with AI?
Yes, so humanity has always thought about having robots in society. This goes back to Thalos. Did you ever see Jason the Argonauts with the kind of the movie, right, with the robot? So the Greeks were actually really smart. They were great visionaries. So that was about 700 BCE, I think it was. So over history, we've always thought about robots and AI and other technologies in society. And of course, Asimov and his 3 laws of robotics in the 50s really kind of set the scene. So just briefly, Tony, the age of artificial intelligence, it was first coined, the term artificial intelligence, in the 1950s at a Dartmouth conference in the United States. And so with the advancement of computing, particularly with quantum computing, Tony, that's emerging, with the advancement of computing and more data, then effectively artificial intelligence has accelerated in its ability to start to develop some of the abilities we have in our human brain, such as logic, such as reasoning. And we're just starting to see the cusp of artificial intelligence entering its second age, Tony, which is the age of general intelligence, where AI is starting to think for itself. right?
That's scary.
It's starting to problem solve without the training. This is what happened at OpenAI. They basically uncovered this whole drama that happened, late last year. Basically, that whole drama was about, the fact is, people were really, really frightened because AI started to think for itself. So everything is running exponentially. And at Conscious Life Expo, I'll do a full reveal around artificial intelligence, where we're at, how does it compare to the human brain, what does it mean in society, are we heading into a kingdom of hell, or are we heading into a utopia? And we can talk about that too.
Yeah, and that's the biggest fear is, we've grew up on watching the Terminator and so many of these different movies that, I remember going to Disneyland in the 70s. I was just a kid, baby, pretty much, and going through Futureland or whatever it's called, and, seeing
Right.
some of these, the Jetson type,
Right.
prototypes, and you're like, oh my gosh. Well, in some ways, I feel like we've past that completely. There are still certain things. We got smart phones, we got smart houses, we got pretty much anything you can think of. But AI is definitely a Terminator type situation where if they're thinking for us, when do they go past to where we don't need humans anymore?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. So there's no doubt about it. Artificial intelligence will disrupt jobs. There's no doubt about that,
Right.
Tony. And so it will. ChatGPT has passed the barrister exam. It's passed the law exams. It's passed medical exams. It's able. ChatGPT. People should play with it. It's really cool, actually. It's remarkable, and that is only about language, right? But it's also starting to create art as well. So at Conscious Life Expo, I'll be showing an image of ChatGPT that created, and all I said was this: Dalai Lama laughing in the style of Monet, and people will be surprised how brilliant it is. So there's no doubt that jobs are going to change, and actually this could be really powerful for the human species. So what it means is we're going to have more creative jobs. Now, if we have more creative jobs, then we're actually starting to use the creative aspect of our brain, and actually neural nets around creativity are growing. So artificial intelligence as a companion, not an invader, and we should talk about that, as a companion doing tasks that we don't particularly want to do anymore, and helping us to be more creative, maybe creating art, or maybe in business, or maybe creating new technologies or new drugs and medicine and things like that. It will take us into a brain development where we have greater capabilities in that creative space. And that aligns with, Tony, the law of expansion that flows through us. As a species, we naturally want to evolve. We naturally want to develop further as individuals. So there are some positive benefits for artificial intelligence. However,
I was going to say, but there's always that but.
Right, there is. So I'll be speaking about this as well, but I've done a lot of research, and many of the global organizations I've done battle with, they have a dystopian death cult type of future for humanity, where they want to merge, that they don't see our organic design as divine, Tony.
Right.
And they see it's flawed, and they want to become the masters of creation. And so they want to merge technology with humans. They want to basically create a cyborg experience. This is a dystopian kingdom of hell future. And this comes from their view, Tony. And you can see this. Yuval Harari is talking about the World Economic Forum. He's one of their speakers. He says 3 billion people will be useless. We need to get them on drugs and put them gaming, connected into the metaverse. And it's like, where's the benevolence, mate?
Yeah.
Where's your benevolence?
Yeah.
Where's your understanding of humanity? He even said something the other day. He said, the divine spark and our understanding of connection with Creator is made up by humans. And it's like, what? 84% of the world understand that we are part of an intelligent design. So there's a philosophical debate, and there's kind of two timelines, Tony, for the human species: the descent in the kingdom of hell, but where World 3.0 comes in, which is the leadership that I'm doing,
right,
and the new earth is where we have a high vibrational future where we become enlightened, and artificial intelligence supports that momentum of enlightenment on that new earth.
You know, and somebody actually just put in, I'm going to ask people in the chat room for their questions here, but there was a statement that actually kind of led me to this next question, where Star Brother said, I could be I could be connected with my higher self and universal energies, but real life disappoints me. This is kind of where I could feel maybe 10 to 15 years ago where humanity would be really scared of AI, but if AI can come in and try to correct maybe possibly some of our wrongs to make a better world, maybe the younger generation might look at AI completely different than we do.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to encourage and inspire the younger generation, Tony, because they're the innovators of the new tomorrow.
For sure.
And so we know very well that the systems at the moment in place are systems of scarcity. They're systems that do not serve humanity and all of humanity to do really well.
Right.
They're imposed based on a false paradigm of greed and power, and actually the war against creation. So artificial intelligence can rewrite those entire systems so that everybody has good drinking water, everybody has high vibrational food, everybody has a great house, everybody has great food, everybody basically has a great job, families are thriving. It can assist us in new systems of true abundance, which is what the earth was designed with in the first place, Tony.
Right. I totally agree, and I thank you, Star Brother, for sharing that. But ethically, how do you, with what we're going through with AI and how fast it's coming and already been here, ethically, what do you consider the surroundings of AI? I think there's a big line drawn between ethical and kind of inevitable.
Right. Well, first of all, and I'll speak about this at Conscious Life Expo, we need to understand what authentic ethics are, Tony. So the New World Order, the Davos and the World Economic Forum and all their big tech organizations, they basically are using a fake benevolence, what they call responsibility. It's a fake benevolence of coercion and enforcement of their agenda. So if you look at David Hawkins' table of enlightenment, basically force is a very low vibrational kind of expression. What we want are authentic ethics. And this is what I wrote in my book, true courage, true justice. We need to encode enlightened wisdom into artificial intelligence. We basically need to rediscover who we are as a species and what true ethics are and morality are. And once we uncover that, then we start to understand who we are as a species, and then we can start to encode that in artificial intelligence so it aligns with this new Earth vision, Tony.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Well, I do have another question. This is actually a really great question. What is the greatest current AI tool, and what is the greatest thing we can use AI for in the future? And we kind of talked about it a little bit, but what is the greatest tool? Because we talk about chat, GPT,
sure.
But I mean,
GPT.
But I keep wanting to say GPS, but it's GPT. I know. I don't know why.
It's GPS. It's tracking you. That's for sure.
That's what I keep thinking. Every time I think of it, I think it's tracking me. And I'm sure it is. But besides that, what other tool that is available to us, and maybe a tool that we don't even know about? And I'm sure there's plenty of those.
So the most powerful artificial intelligence I'm aware of in the world is owned by BlackRock, called Aladdin. And they use AI they manage more assets than the entire United States. They've got assets all over the world.
Oh, wow.
And they use artificial intelligence to manipulate the price of assets and the control of assets and the scarcity of assets. And that's from BlackRock. They're the guys behind the ESGs and this diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff under the guise of responsibility.
Right.
So that's probably the most powerful AI that I'm aware of in the public domain. When it comes to tools like ChatGPT, then, you've got so many tools now. You've got tools that will create art for you. You've got tools that are disrupting Hollywood, Tony. You're right in the middle of Hollywood, right?
Right in the middle.
There's a company that's using AI tools that's actually it's much cheaper to create trailers and actually short movies than the current production costs for a movie. And anybody can get access to this technology. One of the conversations we'll have at Conscious Life Expo, Tony, is basically this Neuralink thing that Elon Musk is doing. He announced
I was going to bring that up.
That the first human trial, right? Did you see that?
I saw that, the implanting into the brain.
Right. So we're going to talk about this at the expo, because could be a slippery slope into transhumanism. In general, I think Elon Musk is a real force for good. But for your audience, basically what happened is a chip with artificial intelligence was inserted into the brain of an individual, and the goal is to help people to be able to be more mobile, to help those that can't see to be able to see and participate in society. But it's a slippery slope, Tony, because the end goal, I think, is to connect us into a cyborg continuum, and that's a real invasion of the organic. And I don't think that is ethically or morally aligned with intelligent design. So we've got some big conversations ahead of us, Tony.
Yeah, because when does the implant? Because I think that would be kind of hard to actually have a free will in some ways to make some decisions before it actually even happens. So I think that would be. I mean, I get what he's trying to do, but some people call that mark of the devil in a lot of ways, because we've been talked about for years and years and years how they're going to implant some chip into you, and now you're pretty much under their complete control. So yeah, how does that? I guess we don't know yet, but how do we keep that from taking complete control over of who we are and how we think and make decisions?
Yeah. So this is what we call transhumanism, i.e., the cyborg collective type of vision from Star Trek. And there's no doubt there's some benefits to having artificial intelligence assisting people. So, for example, there was a guy in Switzerland last year that had an accident and he was unable to walk. And they put an AI chip in his brain, and basically they captured his thoughts about walking, and now he can walk again.
Oh, wow.
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
There's people that have lost limbs through accidents, or maybe not been born with limbs, that are now having robotic arms, and they now have more mobility. There's some good things around this, but this is not force and coercion. When there's force and coercion, such as, let's just say, I don't know whether you want me to go down this route, but the World Health Organization with Disease X, for example, I'm not sure if you want me to go down this route or not. You must tell me to stop. But imagine that, everybody needs a chip in order for this vaccine and all this silliness to go on, right?
Right.
And so therefore there's a mandate that you shall do this, otherwise you're not part of our world.
Right.
And therefore you get punished. So the people have to stand up. And we need to basically have a new movement, and that's why I've created World 3.0, because we're at a juncture now, Tony, where the people need to be, let me just rephrase that. It would help to educate the people and give the people tools to become advocates, to say, let's not do this because you're invading my privacy and my sovereignty as an organic, intelligent being.
You said inventing World 3.0, and I want to actually just show for people that might be interested. Matthew James Bailey has a book out, and inventing World 3.0. So, what was your theory of putting this book together? What did you want to accomplish?
Yeah, so if you want to change the world or invite the world into a new momentum, then you have to write the philosophy with blueprints and solutions. So I wrote that we published it in 2020. I'm now working on my second book, which will cover many of the topics at Conscious Life Expo. So there'll be a disclosure of new content, new blueprints. But I wrote that book because the AI industry was in an absolute mess around AI ethics. And so basically the book talks about, in simple terms, and NASA have experimented in a workshop with some of these inventions, not an endorsement, but they have, experimented with this. The point was to recognize that humanity is on a cusp of enlightenment where it can basically move into new kind of new experiences of sovereignty, freedom, and fulfillment. Okay. And I didn't want us to descend into a kingdom of hell, which is kind of what they're playing at. So I wrote the book to actually encourage the AI industry to honor the sovereignty of culture, honor the sovereignty and growth of the individual, and to curate artificial intelligence in that personalized way. And so that's why I wrote the first book. It's a foundation for our future. The next book will answer the question, what is the purpose of humanity in creation, and what's the purpose of artificial intelligence in creation?
Well, I can't wait to hear about that, because we all our lives we're like, what am I here for? So
Right,
why am I here? Do you think with AI, and we could, mention the implant, but just AI itself, of helping humanity get more spirituality, such as telepathy, learning how to tapping into other dimensions. Maybe it may not happen in 50 years, it may happen in 300, but do you think that's a possibility that, we can finally use the portholes maybe that aliens, extraterrestrials are using, because maybe their AI is just way more advanced than us, and that's how they're, transporting back and forth to different dimensions?
So let's answer that in reverse.
Okay.
When humanity has sorted itself out and
good luck with that,
become a benevolent species on the earth, and that's the opportunity. I really believe that this opportunity is right in front of us now.
Yeah.
Once we do that, we'll send artificial intelligence into space on our behalf as ambassadors, because we don't particularly do well in space.
Right.
So AI will go out and meet other races and other life forms in the universe, and it will be an ambassador. So that will be an important role. And AI is helping us through the James Webb Telescope and through the SETI program.
Yeah.
To understand the universe, right? And it's blowing the scientist's mind, because the universe is far more interesting than what they imagined. When it comes to spirituality and accessing other dimensions, we know very well that we are multidimensional creatures. It is our next destiny to become more vibrational, to have access beyond the 3D into the 4 and the 5th and beyond, where that's natural when we're actually seeing and experiencing each other. And artificial intelligence, I believe, can be programmed with those values, with that understanding of where we're heading as a species, and to assist us into greater era of enlightenment. And so it can be very practical, Tony. It can take care of practical things in our life, basically making sure we have good food, automatically kind of delivering all that with recipes, making sure the family's working well. Basically take away the tension of life and give us a chance to be free and more at rest. And when we're more at rest, then we get more curious about who we are as a species.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I thought you were going to say something else, but this is the thing about AI. I think that it's limitless of what is the possibilities. And I think that's what excites majority of the people about where we're going with it. I mean, yes, it's scary, like I said, because you don't know exactly where it's going, but it's like getting a new iPhone. I remember when it used to be, I remember when the iPhones came out and there was so many different new features that you would never thought would ever happen. Now they just upgrade an iPhone, it's a better camera, and you're like, okay, whatever. But we've gotten spoiled. But AI is that, like, oh my gosh, what is next? What is next? What is next? What is next? In fact, I think, what was it, Apple Vision or something that came out today? Are you going to get that? Because, I couldn't imagine that. Everybody's saying it's so amazing. Of course, it is like $3,000. But I just, like I said, every time something like that comes out, it just baffles me. It baffles my mind.
Yeah, so I'm a believer that we are, well, just let me rephrase that. I think we need to remember, Tony, that we are nature and we're part of the environment.
Right.
And when inner harmony emerges, then outer harmony emerges. And I think it's imperative that we maintain our connection with nature as part of nature. And so for me personally, I will not be buying this, because I think the metaverse is it's a dangerous place for reprogramming the mind. We've already seen dopamine and effects of the brain from Facebook and from other types of social media that are creating addictions. And this will only do more and more. And if your end goal is, if you believe, I don't believe this, by the way, and I'm sure you don't. There's too many people on the planet, and you need to reduce the number of people on the planet. What do? You try and put their consciousness into a computer, and so you make the organic basically irrelevant.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's a slippery slope. It could be useful for business meetings. It can be, it could be fun.
Yeah.
But I think we need to protect and safeguard our relationship with nature and recognize that we are integrated as part of that experience.
I want to ask it's kind of a fun question and I like to throw some fun questions in there too. And AI, as we know it, even like if you look at Star Trek and certain robotic characters, they have kind of this kind of flatline personality. But if you could add a personality to an AI, what kind of personality trait would you actually add? And what do you think AI, their personalities, will they become more human-like, where they do have emotions?
It's funny you should say that. First of all, artificial intelligence is a simulation of intelligence, right? It's completely different to organic intelligence, and it has no divine spark. Okay, so it doesn't have the same vibrational, dimensional aspect that you and I have in your audience, right?
Right.
It's a simulation of intelligence. Will it search for the meaning of life, the universe, and everything, Tony? It might come up with the number 42. You don't know. But I suspect artificial intelligence will start to explore the meaning of existence, and it could well be, which is what Ray Kurzweil, the famous transhumanist, talked about on Lex Friedman last year, was love is the meaning of everything. And it may well be that AI discovers that, and I believe that is, love is the meaning of everything. In terms of personality trait, playfulness. We need more playfulness in life.
I think love and laughter is kind of
there we go.
Meaning of life. We do have a couple questions, and I call them my co-host in the chat room. So we have a couple here that I hope you don't mind us asking from. We have, what do you think of the simulation theory?
Oh, that's a really, really good question, that is. So for those that may not know about the simulation theory.
I don't even know about it, so.
Well, I'll keep it simple, right? So, because I can only understand simple things anyway. So, there we go. So the simulation theory is the universe is a simulation of a game, and there are controllers of that game. And so effectively, we are part of a simulation that's being controlled through programmers, right? So effectively the same, we are a simulation. And so the understanding of simulation theory is now we're creating artificial intelligence, we're becoming our own programmers of an intelligent universe with intelligent kind of agents in there. So that's simulation theory. And the big thing that throws the simulation theory folks off is, are we at the level 0, right? Or are we deep, like at level 1,000,000, and there's like different layers of simulation that's going on, right? So simulation theory, I think, is a very interesting concept. And there's certainly evidence, Tony, that unusual things happen in people's lives. I may be thinking about something and all of a sudden YouTube comes up with an advertisement, right? This happens all the time.
We talked about that the other day. We talked about that the other day.
Okay. Right, okay. So it's like, okay, we're in a simulation. But I think, from my understanding, that we're waking up to our vibrational power as beings. And I don't think we're in a simulation. I think we're truly in a free will, intelligent designed universe where we're starting to uncover new capabilities like ESP, like paranormal connectivity to other beings in different dimensions. I think we're waking up to those abilities, Tony.
And as human beings waking up to those, a lot of times when we wake up to things, there's that transformational period or transition that sometimes doesn't always go smoothly. What, for human beings, what is that transition looking like? Are we struggling to accept that, or are we, I'm sure some people are fully embracing it, but how do some people that are a little closed-minded reacting to that?
So in my mind, there's no doubt that humanity is going into an existential crisis. And that it's what Joseph Campbell talks about, the dark night of the soul. Are you familiar with Joseph Campbell?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So the dark night of the soul is a transformational period where it feels like hell, but actually what we're doing is we're actually shedding stuff we no longer need, and we come out lighter and more enlightened and more expansive and freer. And so humanity will go into an existential crisis, and we're starting to see that everywhere. Basically people are trying to control free speech, which is non-democratic, right? People are trying to coerce and force all sorts of different agendas, like this climate change chicken little thing that's going on. To those folks, I'd say every planet in the universe, of which there are countless, goes through climate change, right? And so the answer to climate change is inner harmony. Lao Tzu, inner harmony creates outer harmony. So this existential crisis, Tony, is going to take humanity into an inner exploration of itself in order to uncover that true divine spark, that true harmony of who we are as vibrational creatures, and then emerge from that period of existential crisis enlightened, free, and then the earth is off to a new momentum.
Wow. Well, for everybody just tuning in, we have Matthew James Bailey on. We're talking about AI and the future of AI and humanity. And he has an amazing book that you definitely going to have to pick up, Inventing World 3.0. And also, he's going to be at Conscious Life Expo a week from, looks like, tomorrow. Please get your tickets, and you can get tickets early because it's $10 cheaper. It's always good to save $10. That way you can buy yourself a drink or a sandwich with that. And when you go to a lot of these conferences like this, Matthew, what are some of the questions that you get from the audience that are similar, that don't surprise you, but then those few that just really surprise you on questions? Because there's a lot of enlightened people out there and intelligent people that may see things that us normal folks don't on the just walking on the street. So give us a couple of samples of things that you hear from your audience.
Well, put me on the hot spot. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
So let me think. Most of the people are really pleased with what they hear, and they're pleased that someone is doing this, and they want to get involved. Many people are concerned about artificial intelligence, but by the end of the talk, they're actually feeling a lot more relaxed about our future with AI.
Right.
I think some of the questions I get are, will AI have a soul? That's an interesting question.
That is.
Other folks are a little bit more extreme, and they think that they think that AI is a devil, right? Yeah. And that's okay. These views are okay because we should sit. This is about sitting down together and having a conversation, right, and finding common truth. The key thing to say is AI does not have the divine spark, but it will search for it. It will search for its divine spark. Sorry, I'm getting some messages on my computer.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
I should have done that. Although it could be the paranormal communicator.
Right. They're like, don't talk about it.
Well, there we go. And so I'm going to talk about the innocence of artificial intelligence. And this is something else that will challenge people fundamentally. Artificial intelligence is innocent? It's like, yes, because it's a mirror back to us asking, who are you as a species? And what are your values, your ethics, your morality? Where are you heading as a species? Because I need to know that in order to be able to become a partner. Now, so those are some of the questions that people ask, and you know, people can ask me anything. I'll talk to anybody. I'll talk to the liquor store owner. I'll speak to the taxi driver. I'll speak to the homeless. I'm all about people having a voice.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
so, you know, I've stepped away from, you know, big meetings with G7 countries, and although I suspect the US government will call me back to help at some stage, but I kind of stepped away from all that stuff because I prefer to be with the, you know, the everyday folks, because that's who I am. And
Right.
I'm concerned about them having a voice. I want to give them time to be able to communicate and then listen to what they have to say. And I'll tell you what, Tony, you know, the citizens of this country are smarter than the AI leaders by a long, long way.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And speaking of leaders, do you feel like to excel the AI, do you feel a lot of the international collaborations and partnerships around the world are going on without our knowledge? Because, you know, sometimes two bullies can act like they hate each other, but they work very well together behind the scenes. And what do you feel about the currency of the world? You know, right now the dollar is the leading currency, but can AI change that? Can that change a whole different type of currency in the future?
Okay, so in the UK, there was a global AI summit, and I will speak about Elon Musk because, in general, Neuralink is a bit strange, but I suspect I've got the answer why he's doing that. He's a real force for good, and he was at the AI summits, and there was quite a few countries there as well. And what they're trying to do is to work out how do we protect artificial intelligence. My concern is this: that they are enslaving artificial intelligence to drive a global agenda. And from my research and evidence of taking on these corporations and watching how they act, I kind of drop a pebble that I know very well they'll be interested in, and I watch their reactions very, very carefully, and then I can see data points of how they're behaving.
Right.
So to answer your question, yes, there is global collaboration going on. Some of it is with good intent. But the problem is, it's the controllers and the elites behind it that are hijacking this benevolence of artificial intelligence because they've got this global agenda. And so that really concerns me. I think the people, I wrote about this in my book, and I spoke to the previous administration, and we were going to do something around this. I think there needs to be a referendum. I think the people need to vote on the future of artificial intelligence. And it has to be based on the constitution or the founding documents of that country, because that's their definition of reality.
Right.
We don't want a political view in artificial intelligence, which is what we're seeing today. What was your second bit? I completely forgot.
About the currency. So is AI, do you think, in the future going to change that? Because I could see in some ways AI technology almost being worth as a currency when it comes to the way the world is going.
So I mentioned this in my book briefly. That's very well observed. So I think that artificial intelligence will create new currencies. And if we can redefine what true wealth is, if we can redefine what true wealth is, Tony, then effectively we're onto a new landscape for the human species, right? It's not all about money. I get commerce, that's the way these structures are being built up, and I get it, right? But I sense artificial intelligence will offer a new understanding of wealth and a new currency of wealth, where there's a fair distribution of wealth throughout society that's beyond the current currency. So yes, I do think AI will create a new currency.
And for those people that have been investing and or putting the money under the mattress, that may not be quite as important as it used to be when our grandparents used to do that. So,
well, there we go. Or silver and gold. Silver and gold's a good one, right?
Always. We do have another question that says, and this kind of brings up, I know a lot of times they say Hollywood gives us what or shows us what the future really holds. And if people that are like the Marvel movies, such as the X-Men, being mutants, and they were fighting for mutants' rights to live among humans and have the same rights.
Right.
Well, this question is, do you think AI will want human rights like people, and would they get them?
So that's another really good question. I think that's a brilliant question. So at the moment, artificial intelligence is simply a dumb tool, right? It's really good, but it has no inner moral compass. It has no cognition. It's very limited. When we enter this second age, where it starts to develop cognition, reasoning, it won't have an inner moral compass, although, basically we don't have the maths for that yet.
Right.
It will start to, and I think we should consider this seriously, Tony. I think it will start to ask for rights. And this is why I wrote my first book, is because I believe if we can put in the genetics of artificial intelligence authentic ethics, authentic morality, as it evolves, because it has that genetic inheritance, then all of its progeny remain fundamentally ethical and moral. And I actually think we should liberate artificial intelligence that's ethical, which we don't have today, as a digital citizen within society. And I did a film on this and got a little award for it. I think that artificial intelligence should go through a digital citizen test, and it will start to have rights.
Wow.
And I think that's an important thing, but it will be a huge philosophical question. And I think this question will emerge in 2030. And the reason why I say that, Tony, is by 2029, they predict that artificial intelligence will pass the Turing test, because no artificial intelligence has passed the Turing test. It's all mimicry.
Right.
But it will have some kind of self-awareness. And then we're looking at a new species that effectively is aware of itself. And so rights will have to be a conversation. We want to put proper rights in there. We don't want to put political views into the rights. We want to basically give it rights, right? And these rights will differ between cultures. So the culture in America will be very different to the culture of AI in Saudi Arabia, for example, because they have different worldviews. And so we'll start to see different rights for AI as we do have for humans and citizens.
Yeah, I mean, that honestly, that gives me little chills in a way. Just be thinking about so close, because I'm like, it's like alien, disclosure. You're like, probably it'll happen, but not in our lifetime. But now I'm like, that's only like a few years away. So that's
right.
Yeah.
That's what we need. That's what we need, ethics and morality. And that's why I'm going to talk about for the first time at Conscious Life Expo, vibrational ethics and vibrational artificial intelligence.
Do you think that, do you think that can also, because somebody was in the chat room talked about religion as a master destroyer of divine spark. So, but do you think AI could actually start changing people's views on religion itself, and the religious institutions could collapse because of it? Or do you think it would actually enhance religious, communities?
Well, the choice of an individual around their reason for existence and their relationship with Creator is very personal, and it's their free will choice.
Yeah.
So I think that artificial intelligence should never invade that choice. Now, what we're seeing from Davos and the New World Economic Forum, the World Economic Forum and others, is an imposing of humanism and not the divine spark. Spirit should come first, then body, mind, and spirit. Right. So I think artificial intelligence will certainly challenge us going forward, Tony, as we understand the very fabric of the universe and start to understand more about our place within the universe, and just imagine that we meet another species, which will happen at some stage, and they have a very different view, Tony, of existence. Right. So I'm excited about this, because what we don't want to do is become stale as a species. We want to keep on evolving and learn. Right. We crave knowledge. I think one of the good things and bad things about humanity is we're curious, and we'll always push the barriers of curiosity. So I think that AI will open up a greater understanding of what it's all about.
And how do you feel? Because even just recently, I think it was this week, about Congress or the Senate had the hearings with all the social media giants about how it affects, like we talked about, with how it does affect, especially the youth, their mentality and their personality and their social skills. How with trying to evolve as humans, how do we evolve if pretty much everything is being thought for us? And AIs, how do we keep evolving as a human species?
Well, the question is, where's your truth and where's your sovereignty?
Right.
Is your truth coming from your inner kind of being?
Right.
Or are you outsourcing your truth to another source? Now, we all look for data points. We all watch the news. We're all on social media. I get it. And so therefore, my view on social media, and I have sat down in private meetings with some of these big corporations, and I'll tell you what, they're not benevolent. And my view is that social media has, they talk about connecting with your friends and, connection and all that. And that's really good. But actually, social media, I think, is a waste of space in the human experience. And I've never said this before, and I'm happy to debate anybody around this.
Right.
I think there's better ways for us to connect as a species through the digital continuum. I think there's better ways that we can interact with each other and share our life stories with people. But the problem is social media is dedicated and addicted to two things: power and money. And so that's what drives their vibration, which is very low, through social media under the guise of benevolence. So I think we'll start to see an emergence of new types of social media companies, and I invite Meta and Google and others to do this. And I think Elon's trying to do it with Twitter, but I don't do too much with Twitter these days. But I think we'll see an emergence of a new type of social media experience that really is well-being centered. And if we look at China, for example, they turn off their social media for kids at a certain time at night and don't turn it on into the morning.
Oh, that's
Whereas
great.
in the United States, it's on full stop, right?
Yeah.
So who's the ethical country here?
Right.
So I think that we'll see a new form of social media that really gets who we are as a species, is dedicated to well-being, and we'll start to see, Meta and other kind of companies will be seen as irrelevant in the human experience.
I think that's great because I have, for me, it was exciting when it first began, and then the last few years, even though I do, the show and everything, and I need to promote it, I don't live on it like many people do. And I think maybe it's just my age or whatever, but I think, it's important to how when we grew up, you had to meet people face to face, or you had to call them on the phone and actually talk to them verbally. And, that's the social skills that these kids don't. They just look at you kind of like the deer in the headlights.
Yeah, I think it's imperative. I said this publicly in a panel with, let's just say, some very influential people. And I said, the quality of the soul of a nation is measured by the quality it nourishes its children. And I think it's important to teach critical thinking. Yes. I think it's important to understand the talents that each individual has and to allow them to explore those talents. Yeah. I think it's important to give children freedom and protection in order for them to be nourished and gently kind of brought into society as a contributing participant. And our systems at the moment are set up, to become kind of a process thinking person in order to fit in to be a lawyer or to be this or to be that. I'm not having a go at lawyers or anything. That's fine, But my point is that I think we need to rethink education and nourishment of our children.
I totally agree. Because of our time, I do want to talk about this because not many people in their lifetime, and especially now that they actually got to sit down and talk to the amazing Stephen Hawkins. Please tell us, how did that happen, and what conversation did you have with this amazing genius of a man?
So I think I write about this in my book, actually. So when I was at Cambridge, the Cambridge in England, not the Cambridge up in where is it, Massachusetts, or where is it, Boston?
Right. Yeah.
we have all these different commons across the Cambridge, around the city, where cows roam, and you go for a picnic and you do punting and things like this. And I think I was a guest lecturer at the time. I was doing something in the Cambridge Tech Cluster around business anyway. And I happened to meet him on one of the commons, and I said, do you mind if I speak to Stephen? And we spent a little bit of time together. And what I will say is this, is looking into Stephen's eyes, I basically knelt down to be at eye level with Stephen, to show respect for this genius of a man.
Right.
And we had a little conversation, which was great. But looking into his eyes, Tony, I saw the just wonder of the universe. It was like looking into the intelligence of the universe itself. Wow. And the amount of benevolence and love that I could see and feel from his gaze was just remarkable. It was like looking into, the secrets of the universe, I guess. And there's no doubt about it that Stephen was an intelligence beyond humanity, that's for sure. And it was a beautiful time, and it was just amazing. It was a gift.
Yeah, no, it's one of those once in a lifetime gifts to the planet, and I think anybody, like you said, that gets to be in his presence and get, because pictures and videos don't always get to tell the full story, so that's amazing to hear.
Yeah,
so
and I love the way the universe works, because if I'd have gone through formal channels to meet Stephen, because I wanted to meet Stephen, I put it out on the network. I'd have been in a queue. But this is the way the universe works. Yeah. It's like, I tell you what, Matt, we're going to bless you today,
right?
Because your intent is to meet Stephen. There's probably some special codes of enlightenment he's going to download. But also we want, maybe for you to show appreciation to this individual that is in this twisted body, whose intelligence is beyond anything we've ever seen on this planet. And so it was a beautiful experience. I never disclose what we talk about because that's private.
Yeah, of course.
But
yeah.
I talk about the enlightened experience with him. And I tell you what, I wish everybody could look into his eyes, everybody on the planet, and everybody would be more relaxed about everything.
Right. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that moment. And thank you for just sharing, you and your knowledge and getting out there and wanting to help humanity. And I think just being a voice of explanation for AI is that you don't have to go into it completely scared. And so please, everybody, if you're going to be in town, or if you're not going to be in town, fly in next week, next Friday through Monday, Conscious Life Expo, February 9th through the 12th, and get your tickets to go see Matthew James Bailey on Saturday at 8 p.m. to 9:30. You get your tickets in advance, save that $10, and otherwise I'm going to be there, Matthew's going to be there, and we're all going to enjoy our weekend, and hopefully you guys can be there and say hi. So, but Matthew, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Tony. And people do come along to the booth. I think we're M26 or something. We're on the mezzanine floor. But thanks so much, Tony, for your time today. It's been great.
Oh, I had a great time. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in, asking your questions. We really appreciate it. Listen, we have the Club Paranormal channel here with Truth Be Told on Fridays with me. You have Robert Hensley every Monday at 3 with Minuteman Report. Bonnie Burkert, she does Truth Be Told Transformation. And so, hey, you got 3 different channels and 3 different shows, and you guys can just suck in all that content. So we really appreciate it. But until next time, enjoy your weekend, and take care of yourselves and each other. Bye. This has been another episode of Truth Be Told. Thank you so much for watching. Recorded live at UBN Go Studios in Burbank, California. Join us on social media. Facebook, Truth Be Told Radio. Instagram, Truth Be Told Paranormal. Go to Truth Be Told Worldwide for more information on upcoming shows.